Welcome guys to the channel Happy Feed. Today I have Vineet Pujari with me. This is kind of a live build where we are going to demonstrate a new capability of Automation Anywhere to you, and that's Connector Builder. Vineet is a senior product manager at Automation Anywhere, and he is closely involved in working with Connector Builder, API tasks. And Vineet, apart from like working in Automation Anywhere, he used to work with Dell Technologies and Citrix, very famous companies. With that, I will hand it over to Vineet for introducing himself briefly to the audience. Over to you, Vineet. Welcome.
Thank you, Deependra. Thank you for having me. Thank you for introducing. As you covered, I worked at Citrix and Dell prior to Automation Anywhere. At Automation Anywhere, my responsibility is to make sure we take the intelligent automation to the next level. So we are trying to build all kinds of API-based automations, be it API tasks, connector builder, or very soon we'll be introducing event-driven automation to help you in real-time automations. Yeah, so that's a quick intro about me. I'm excited to show this live build of the connector builder, which we released in our recent release.
Awesome. I think audience would also be excited to see the live demo. So before going there, I mean, what exactly, like, why do we need Connector Builder? We have a SaaS product, and companies are also using a lot of enterprise SaaS application. So is it something that we establish connection between the enterprise SaaS application?
Absolutely, that's a great question. In this era of SaaS applications, which are proliferating in every customer's business apps. As you mentioned rightly, all businesses are moving more and more towards SaaS-based service. It means less maintenance and less patching and less downtime for them, which allows them to focus on their core business area. We are seeing that a typical customer has at least about 100 SaaS applications in use. It could span across their HR systems, finance systems, accounting systems, and whatnot. Now, these customers are also looking to automate most of the operations in these systems. And one of the key aspects of automation is the ability to integrate uh, disparate systems. Right? If two systems aren't talking to each other, automation helps by doing UI-based automation. Like you've seen our recorder technology, which can scrape the screen and move data from one application to another. But when it comes to SaaS application, the benefit that we have is these applications are cloud-based applications, and they offer APIs for interconnectivity. And that's the benefit we want to reap through Connector Builder. We want to utilize these APIs that these SaaS applications have exposed to achieve the best automation outcomes for our customers.
Okay, that totally makes sense. We can get you through the agenda. So as you guys see in the slide, the agenda of this podcast is like we will talk about what is Connector Builder. Vineet will give us deep insights about the benefits also, like why do we need to use Connector Builder, what is all about. Then we will have a live build. Over to you, Vineet.
Sure. So as we were talking about SaaS applications and the reason for integrating these SaaS applications with automation anywhere, that's where Connector Builder comes into picture. Connector Builder is meant to ease the process of integrating any SaaS application with automation anywhere. And we are not just restricting this to SaaS applications. We are opening it up for any application that exposes APIs, specifically REST APIs. Now, if you're an Automation Anywhere developer and if you've ever built a custom package using our Java SDK, you know that it's not a small task. In fact, it takes a couple of days to sometimes weeks. Imagine you're building a REST API based package, right? There's many things that you need to figure out and understand. First, you need to understand how the API works, what are the endpoints, how are the responses coming, what is the format of the response. So based on all of these, you will have to design your package. You will decide how many actions will it have, what kind of inputs will go in each of these actions, what kind of outputs will come out of these actions, and how will you sequence them all together and package them up, and then publish it to the control room. Right? It's quite a task, I would say.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So as developers, try to integrate with more and more SaaS applications, it is not easy for them to work with a Java-based SDK to build the kind of connectors they need on a daily basis. And also, um, we are trying to get rid of some of the requirements, like you need to know Java in order to build a custom package today, right? We are trying to go away from that notion, wherein we are making it no code for you. So without having any Java programming knowledge, or without having to understand how to write code in Java and parse through the API response, we allow you to build a connector package within minutes. That's the value prop of connector builder.
That would be really cool feature, like for a non-developers.
Absolutely. If they have knowledge about the SaaS application, and if you've ever worked with REST APIs on a client like Postman, creating a custom connector package will be very easy for you, and you can create them in minutes, like I'm going to show you in the demo shortly. And there are ways to even speed up your connector building process. If you have access to the Swagger document of any API, you can
Mhm.
directly import that Swagger document and then build your package in no time, right? That's one way. The other way is, if you have a Postman collection, you can even import a Postman collection and build your package. And of course, you can manually add the actions that you are looking for, configure them, the request, the response, etc., test it out. So these are the three ways of building a connector package. As we are highlighting here, you can use these packages inside of your bots as well as your API tasks. If you've ever worked with API tasks, you know that API tasks are serverless automations that run on Automation 360 Cloud, which means any custom package that you build will not appear in the API task editor. However, if you create your package using Connector Builder, it will be available for use in your API tasks as well. And finally, you can share these connector packages inside of your organization, especially if you have a lot of custom APIs, private APIs that you want to reuse across your org. You can build a connector package and distribute inside of your organization and promote reuse. That's a quick intro about Connector Builder. In the next section, I will show a quick journey about Connector Builder. The Connector Builder was released in the A.32 release, which went out in April this year. So this is the journey of creating a connector builder. Right? You will, as a developer, you will log into your control room. You will go to the Manage Packages page, and then we have introduced a new permission called Create/Edit Custom Connector Packages. So if you assign this permission to one of the roles that you already have, then you will see this option, Create Connector. So once you click that, the journey of building a custom connector package starts. You define the connector and then you publish it. You can actually download it and share within your organization or upload to bot store. You can also start using it in your bots and other. All right, so that's the quick journey. Now, let's talk about the live build of Connector Builder, right? So today, I'm going to build a Mongo database connector package. You might ask, why Mongo? Right? Mongo is a pretty popular database. It's a document database, and it's easy for developers to store structured data as well as unstructured data. And since it uses JSON format to store and retrieve documents, it becomes very easy and very fast for modern APIs. I'm going to log into the control room and show you show you the connector builder feature.
So Vinith, while you log into control room, I would like to know whether this feature comes as a part of enterprise license or there is additional licensing in order to use this feature.
So connector builder comes as part of your enterprise license. So if you have the enterprise license pack on your control room, then all you need to do is log in as a developer or as a broad creator, go to manage packages and assign the permission which I mentioned, create, edit custom connector packages. Once you assign that permission, you will be able to see this option.
My experience of this was something different. I mean, it is available as part of Enterprise Plus license.
Oh yeah, the Enterprise Plus is renamed to Enterprise now, and
Okay.
the tier one license is called Base. The tier two is called Enterprise. Uh,
Okay.
we were calling it as Enterprise Plus a couple of months back, but now we are calling it again as Enterprise. This is where you see the option to create a connector, right? You also have a new tab here called Connectors. Now, this tab is your private workspace where you will notice all of your draft connectors, right? So if I start building a connector, a draft connector will be created here. And once I publish it, it will move from this tab over to the published tab, right? Now, let me click on create connector and start creating a connector for Mongo database. And as you can see here, I'll give a name. I can optionally give a description. The connector type is REST for now, which means there's possibility of supporting more API frameworks in the future, like GraphQL. And then I will input a base URL here, right?
So, Vinith,
And
audience would like to know how to get this base URL from. What exactly is the base URL that you are using here?
sure. So the base URL is the base URL of your API, instance, right? So if you have a Mongo database instance with you, then every Mongo database instance has something called as a base URL. I will probably go to the Mongo database, connection that I have here. So this is the Mongo cloud database, right? You can provision one for yourself for free. All you need to do is go to cloud.mongodb.com and sign up for a free database instance, right? And once you sign up for an instance, you will be allocated something called as an Atlas platform, Mongo Atlas platform. So Atlas platform is nothing but a cloud-based developer platform inside of Mongo. So inside of Atlas, you can create your Mongo databases, one or multiple databases. You can create one or multiple clusters, and also you can enable, data APIs. So data API is something which allows your Mongo database to talk to external applications through APIs. So once you enable your data API, that's when you get a base URL for your Mongo database. So as you can see here, I have enabled the data API on my Mongo instance, and it shows me right here that this is my base URL, or also called as URL endpoint. Now, Mongo database, if you're trying to compare it with Oracle database, Oracle is you know, a relational database, whereas Mongo is a document database. Um, just like how in Oracle we have tables, in Mongo we call them as collections, right? In Oracle, we have tables and records and then columns, right? So in Mongo, we have collections, and documents are called, records are called documents in Mongo, right? And every column in Oracle is referred to as a field in Mongo. So in Oracle, you have tables, um, records, and columns, whereas in Mongo, we have collections, documents, and fields. So that's the high level comparison between a relational database versus a document database like Mongo.
Mhm. Yep.
All right. So I will provide links on how you can provision yourself a free Mongo database in the show notes. But for now, this is how you will get the base URL. And also, if you refer to the documentation for Mongo, Mongo exposes the Swagger document for their APIs. The Data API supports multiple um, endpoints, right? Let me actually go to my one of the documents that I have saved here, which is nothing but the Swagger document for Mongo. In fact, I have a Postman collection for Mongo database.
Would you like to show how to get these Postman collection and the MongoDB Swagger file as well?
Yeah, sure. So first, let's see how you can get a Postman collection for MongoDB, right? So MongoDB Data API, that's what it's called. So if you go to postman.com and then if you just search for Mongo or MongoDB, one of the first results that you'll get is MongoDB Data API, right? So that's where you will get the MongoDB Postman collection. So I'll click on that, and then as you can see, this is the MongoDB Data API. It's available on the public portal as well, public portal of Mongo database Postman as well. What I've done is I've forked it to my private instance, and then which is nothing but it copies over the MongoDB Data API from Postman over to my private workspace. And as you can see, these are the various endpoints that MongoDB supports. So you have insert document, you have find document, you have update, delete, all of these. You can download this, meaning you can export and save it in your local machine, and then you can use that. So I've exported and saved it here in my local machine, and if I open it up, it looks something like this. So this is the MongoDB Data API. You have description about the API, and you have all of these endpoints. You have insert document, you have find document, you have update document. So it has all of the endpoints that we saw just now, right? So this is how you can get the MongoDB Postman collection. Now, if you want to download the MongoDB Swagger file, what you can do is you can go to the documentation portal for MongoDB, and then there's an option to download the Swagger file from there. And I'll paste the link to that direct URL in the show notes. So you'll have access to both the Swagger file as well as the Postman file.
Sure, sure. Thanks.
Yeah. So for now, I'm giving a dummy base URL because my base URL is different one. What I'll do is I will import the Postman collection that I downloaded, and through that Postman collection, I will also import my MongoDB URL, right? So let me click on create and edit. Okay, so this already exists. So what I'll name it is MongoDB database 202. So what you'll see now is the connector editor. Right? So this is where you can build the connector manually by clicking on add action, or you can also import API definition, right? So let me talk about authentication first. So we support all kinds of authentication for any of your APIs, right? We support basic, which means the bot creator will have to enter the username and password while building the bot, and then the connector builder will automatically send a base 64 encoded format of the username and password in each of the actions of your package. OAuth 2 is also supported. You can set up an OAuth 2 connection in our control room using the feature control room managed OAuth connection, and then you can pick the connection during your bot build time. API key is also supported. You can, send your API key either in the header or in the query parameters. In case of header, you can mention the name of your header as well as a prefix, which is usually bearer. So all of that is supported. If your API requires a different kind of authentication, if it's not standard, then you can actually prepare the entire authentication request. We support all kinds of HTTP verbs, which is get, post, put, delete, and patch. And you can specify the actual endpoint of your authentication URL. And then you can prepare your request, like you can add parameter, you can add headers. If your authentication requires a body, you can even pass a JSON body. And then if it's returning a token or a JWT, etc., you can capture that response in the response section, and then you can pass it to the rest of the actions. Now, the good thing about authenticate action is once your authentication token or access token is generated, the tool automatically passes it to the rest of the actions, which I will show you shortly. Right? You do not have to pass the authentication token individually in your subsequent actions that you will build. Rather, the system takes care of maintaining the authentication information in a session, and if you just reference the session, the token is passed to that particular action. All right. For this demo, I'm going to import the Postman collection that I showed you just now. So I'll click on import, and as you can see, I can import either a Swagger file, which is nothing but open API file, or a Postman collection. Right? I'll select Postman, and I will browse and select this file, right? MongoDB Postman collection. And the moment I click on import, I would like you to notice how quickly the system reads all of that uh, contents in the file and generates the actions for you. And I'm going to click on it now. So there we go.
That was real quick.
Right, right. Within a flash of a second, you have all of these actions pre-configured for you, right? And that's not it. It also has, imported all of the request headers. If any of those actions had body in it, it has imported that as well, right? So let's take an example of find document, right? So in case of find document, there is no request parameters in the file, in the Postman file, so there's none imported here. But if you go to request headers, there are 4 request headers imported, and these are imported from the same file. If I go here, if I search for find document, here is that find document endpoint, and as you can see here, there are 4 headers. This node called headers, it has 4 key value pairs. One is content type, the other one is access control, the third one is API key, and lastly accept. So the tool has automatically imported them in no time, and then it also allows you to edit any of these headers. Now if I click on edit, there's some information here, right? First one is key, content type, which is okay. Next, do you want this value to be hard coded, or do you want the bot creator to provide it when they build the bot, right? A content type is fairly a very common header, and I don't want the bot creator to, pass the input as application slash JSON every single time, right? So I can just make it hard coded. What happens is this header is automatically sent every time I execute this find document action. If I make it user provided, what will happen is the bot creator will see a label called content type on the bot editor screen, and they will have to supply a value based on how I select this field. Is it optional or is it mandatory? If I set it as yes, the bot creator will have to supply a value, and this value is optional. I can default it to something. I can leave it blank so that I make the bot creator to supply this value during bot design time. Content type is a fairly common header. It's a standard header, so I will keep it as hard coded. I will save some time for the bot creator, and this is a kind of automation as well, right? Giving the ability to pre-populate some information, making the tool smarter, and saving time for the bot creator, right? So I'll keep it as um, hard coded, and this is the value that will be sent when this action executes. Similarly, if you look at the other headers, access control request headers, this is also pretty standard header. So I'm going to edit that and then make the value as hard coded, and and the value is star. I'll come to API key in a bit. But lastly, let's go to accept, and this is also standard header. So I'll make it hard coded and save it. Right now, as you can see here, there is no authentication action available, right? That's because in my Postman collection as well, there is no authentication information. Rather, Postman stores the authentication information in the collection variable, and it uses the API key to send the API key individually in each of these requests. That is one way, and it's perfectly fine way of maintaining authentication. However, in this example, what I'll do is I will enable this authentication toggle, and as I do that, notice how the authentication action has appeared automatically. And then since I've gone through the Mongo database documentation and I know that it supports API key based authentication, I will select API key here. And the documentation also tells you that authentication API key should be sent as a header with the name API-key. So this is the prerequisite from Mongo. Like every time you call one of these endpoints, you have to send the API key with this name, and the value will be the API key that I get from Mongo database. Right now, let me save this, and what's going to happen is we still have API key, so I'm going to delete it from here. And what I'm going to do instead is when I create my bot, this authentication action will have a session in it, right? I'm going to use the same session for the find document action as well, right? And that way the tool will automatically pass the API key to this find document action. So that's the benefit of having an authentication action here. You will automatically be able to pass the API key in all of the subsequent action. All right, so we have added authentication action here with this header. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that API key from the rest of the actions here, right? Because now I will automatically pass the API key in all of these actions. We've just configured the find document action here. We can configure the rest of the actions and change these values, right? Right now it says value is user provided. This user is nothing but the bot creator. I don't want the bot creator to provide content type and the access control request headers. So I should ideally go here and change it to no, make it hard coded. But to save some time in this demo, I will skip that. I will just go to find multiple documents and I will change it to hard coded because I'm going to use this action in my bot shortly. And as you can see here, the full URL is still pointing to acme.mongo.com, right? Which is not the actual URL for my Mongo database. If I go back to my Mongo instance here, this is my URL. So I'll copy that and I will go here to these three dots and I'll click on file properties. Notice that I get the same pop-up again here. So I will replace the base URL with this one and save it. And as you can see, the full URL has been calculated automatically using the endpoint for find multiple documents, and which is prepended with the base URL here. And that applies for all the actions. So you can see the base URL has changed in all of the actions. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll quickly switch over to Mongo database.
So, Vinith, any specific reason you have configured the URL at this place and not at the when you were creating a connector builder?
There's one reason.
Mhm.
When sometimes the Swagger document or the Postman collection that we import, it already has the actual URL inside of it. So if that's the case, when I import the API definition, it overwrites the the dummy URL that I had given. So I wanted
Okay,
to show that overwriting thing, but in this Postman file, we did not have a base URL provided. So that's why I manually input it here.
thanks for explaining that.
What we've done so far is we've started creating a connector, we've named our connector, we've imported a Postman file, and we've generated all of these actions automatically. Then we added an authentication action with this header, and then we configured find document request header and find multiple documents request header, right? Now, next, before I save this connector and publish, I want to show you another cool feature. Let's go to the request body. Now, one of the pain points of building a REST API based package is if you were to do it using the SDK, you would have to spend a lot of hours and days in going through the API response and parse through each of those elements in Java, right? Now, let me show how easy it is in this connector builder tool. I'll take a sample JSON file that I have here, JSON document, and what I'll do is I'll import that JSON document here in the tool. And as you can see, this JSON document is nothing but it gives us some information about the Automation Anywhere Imagine event, which is going to happen in June this year. And this JSON document has a lot of fields, and some of those fields are like in multiple hierarchies, right? For example, the sessions has a child node called details. This has a child node called more details, which has another a bunch of details, and then there's one more child node called speaker detail, right? So there's multiple levels of hierarchies in this document. If I were to, if I was interested in this field called name, I would have to write code in Java to first loop through sessions and then loop through details and then loop through more details. I'd have to write a lot of loops and a lot of code in order to get to this node, right? Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just copying my sample request and importing it. And what you see here in this panel is the tool automatically parses from the root node all the way to the leaf node, which is more details, speaker details, and name. There we go. Now, all of that programming has been reduced to simple match or map exercise, right? I just imported the document and then I can go directly to the node that I'm interested in and then say um, name of the speaker. What this means is this field will appear as an input in the bot editor, right? If I want to query a specific speaker's, session details in my bot, I can do that. So the idea is we've made it very simple for developers to build packages without writing any line of code, right? So this is the value add of another value add of connector builder. There's some additional things you can configure here. You can control what type of input this will be. Is it going to be a string, number, boolean, or a list? Um, Label will appear this label will appear as the label of the field where the bot creator will provide their input, and the description that you give here will appear as a hint below that label field. So please enter the name of the speaker. So this will serve as the help text underneath this field called label. Right? I'm going to publish this connector shortly and um, show you the output. Right? So let's save this. We created the connector. We added the authentication action. We configured all of these actions. Um, then I want to give a custom image for my connector actions. Right? So I can do that. By default, you will see this icon, which is system provided, but you have the ability to change that, right? So you can upload an SVG file and then save it, and as you can see, you'll get the image that you uploaded just now here, and these will appear in the bot editor as well as API task editor as well. So let me save this.
One question I have, Vinit, in this type that you have specified JSON, do we also support any other type?
Right now, only JSON is supported in your request body, and form data and form URL encoded data is supported. In response also, you can import the same JSON file like this. And then, if you're not interested in all of these fields, you can actually get rid of them, delete them. And if you're interested only in the name of the speaker as the response, or the speaker details, let's say designation of the speaker, you can actually just use that one field and get rid of all of these fields. When the action executes, your bot will give you only this as the response, instead of having to read through the entire response attributes, write additional commands to extract your specific attribute from the dictionary, or the JSON. All right, so I click close. Notice that the Mongo database 202 connector shows up here as draft state. That's because I haven't published it, right? If I go back again here, I'll I'll come back to the same editor screen where I can edit any of these actions, right? And now what I want to do is I want to publish this connector to the control room. And to do that, I'll use this publish package option, and then the version is automatically generated for you. If I'm publishing a second version, you will see that you will have to just select a major, minor, or patch, which is nothing but semantic versioning, and we will auto increment the version for you. So I'm going to click publish for now. The status is publishing. If I refresh it here, it's published, right? Now if you go to publish tab and search for that package here, Mongo database 202, it's actually published and enabled, right? This is the default version. These are the number of actions in it, and it was published just now. And also, I'd like to show you one more cool feature, right? If you want to visually distinguish between a connector package and a package that was built using SDK, you can do that. A connector package appears like this, like it has a magic wand in this box, whereas a package that was created using SDK, it does not have that magic wand in it. That's one way. The other way is using this column called created from. If it says connector, then that package was created using the connector builder tool. And if it says SDK, it was created using the Java SDK. Now we've published our connector package. What we'll do next is we will search for it again here. And I want to show you that how you can download the package, right? Now, if you go here, three dots, and then click on download, the package will start downloading immediately. The package jar gets downloaded in your browser. It's saved in your local machine. You can now use that package and upload it to another control room. It could be any control room, cloud or on-prem, or you can share it with a fellow developer so that they can test it and make sure everything works fine. You can even upload it to our community, which is bot store, so that the community can benefit from your work.